This is all right, guys. This is EliteSkeptiC and ProSkeptic coming at you with our new Skeptical Spectacle podcast. Go ahead and say hi, ProSkeptic.
Hi, everyone.
There you go.
How's it going?
Got that deep voice. Everyone's gonna.
I am ProSkeptic.
But anyways, so I just wanted to point out to you that this is an old college buddy of mine that I went to school with. He's an engineer, graduated with me actually in the same year. So actually, I want to also point out that he is just what we're going to kind of lay down for you today for this podcast is I'm going to give you a quick introduction on who ProSkeptic is, and me and him are going to come to you guys probably once or every other week. Haven't really decided yet, but we're going to start making these podcasts, and what we're going to start trying to talk about on this podcast, we're going to start even making little side videos to kind of describe kind of some of the different arguments we're going to have. But what we really like to do a lot of times is we like to see these different conspiracies. And my friend here, ProSkeptic, really likes looking up different technologies and stuff like that. And I think together we're going to actually create a really interesting show where we kind of balance what is some new things on the kind of these new technologies coming out, and actually how mix that with some of these conspiracy theories that are actually new and developing with some of these new technologies. But enough about all that. In our new show that'll be on our new channel, I'll actually be on my YouTube channel, EliteSkeptiC. But enough about that. Let's talk about you, ProSkeptic. So how did you start? I know you said you grew up in a small town in Oklahoma as well, and you actually were once you were religious at one point as well, right? Or are you still religious?
I mean, I can honestly say now, I'm not very religious at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I did grow up in a church environment. We went every Sunday and Wednesday.
Wow, you did more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, it was just very routine, you know, and it was just normal for me at the time. But yeah, I did grow up in that environment.
Now, I feel like I've talked to you a little bit about this before. I mean, I feel personally with me, I don't mind religious people per se, but I have a big thing when people don't follow evidence. When they sit there and they especially, that's my big thing about, and that's one big topic we're going to be talking about a lot on the show is creationism. So what is your take on creationism, especially maybe young earth creationism? Or just what is your whole take on creationism when you hear that word?
Well, now, just being the person I am, my logic, it took over, I want to say around the age of 13. I was just kind of like, a lot of the stuff that the Bible says doesn't really make sense with, you know, what I've been reading or was hearing in school at the time. And I just thought really deeply about that all the time. And it's just kind of progressed into me just believing the evidence that I did see, you know, and I still went to church, but, you know, it was just, I believed evolution. I believed that, you know, the earth was not a young earth, right, and that it is, in fact, 3.5 billion years old.
See, did you get that more taught to you in school or in like church or Sunday school?
Definitely in school.
Oh, really? In school? I thought you went to a public school.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about evolution.
Sunday school? Oh, I'm sorry. No, in creationism.
Evolution.
I'm sorry.
So creationism was definitely Sunday school.
Okay, Sunday school. So yeah, through the church. See, it was weird for me. I was taught through schooling, like actual in school.
Right, because you went to the private. Yeah.
Right.
See, that
was different. Yeah, that was a little bit different, but it's all good. And so eventually, what made you want to become an engineer? I mean, because I met you in college. So what made you actually decide engineer?
I don't know. I've always had that logical mind.
Right.
That's just how I've always seen, like ever since I can remember, I've always tried to dissect things and tried to figure out how they worked and why. And it just kind of grew into me. It translated over into math and science. I was good at math, and I was great at science in high school. And I kind of saw, engineering just being the logical path. And so, yeah, here I am now, an engineer. In my early days of engineering, nonetheless, but yeah, it's been good.
Good. So, but I guess another thing to kind of tie this all back together, remember for me and for us, both of us, actually, there was one day I was sitting there, and in real life, a friend of mine all of a sudden went down that rabbit hole of flat Earth, right?
Right.
You were there, and I remember looking at you saying, "Look at this," and showing you the text and showing you his arguments. Were any of those okay? So before I go into that, but do you remember being just kind of taken aback by the fact that this is a thing, that people can actually go against mainstream education, even? Like, I don't know. Do you remember that day? Do you remember when I was showing you that? A friend of mine in real life. It was a coach of mine.
I remember.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that was the day that I decided I was going to start trying to like make the whole Twitter handle and eventually make the YouTube channel. This is kind of the pre-runner of all that. And I remember I wanted to do that with you. And I remember, do you remember any of the arguments they made early on that you were actually a little bit taken aback by or had to think about? Because I remember one for me particularly.
I want to say the one that I had to think about was probably curved water.
Yeah.
Or how water has to find its level.
See, and okay, that one, why did you have to think about that one? That was mine too.
I mean, because to the naked eye, like if you don't really think too deeply about it, I mean, you just look at water and it just looks level for the most part. I mean, if you go to a lake, okay, water is leveling out, whatever. I mean, but then you have to actually go, you have to look at the science behind it. Then people just don't ever look at the technical reason.
Right.
And
it's funny because after I thought about it long enough, and I remember he used to take petroleum engineering class with me, for whatever reason, there was this one slide we had. We were talking about like wettability of a surface, and it was about how the bubble forms under surface tension depending on like the type of surface it was, and of course that correlated to some type of coefficient of friction thing we needed for whatever hell we were trying to do.
Yeah.
But it reminded me, and I was like, wait a minute, water curves under surface tensions. And then I started thinking about it. Well, capillary pressure, the water curves up on a tube. So I was like, no. I was like, it's very easy to show curved water. And water actually is very easily curved under forces. And so if we start mixing that with the whole, gravity is a distributive force all over the world. It's not some arrow pointing down. It's, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Spread amongst the whole globe. Water should conform to a globe, if you think about it. But I don't know, it took me forever to actually picture that and fight through that. And so after realizing how good, I'm just going to say it, there's some really good ad hoc arguments they come up with, and you have to actually stop and think about it, and because of that, that made me go, I already lost a good friend. I mean, this was a coach of mine, I really looked up to him, really liked him. And so, kind of had a falling out because we had such a disagreement on the subject. So I thought, well,
right.
And you were there, and, I thought, I think this could be, I think this could be a good cause almost, and it's not just for flat Earth. I also want to go into creationism is another one. These new technologies, like I want to briefly discuss some of the new technologies coming out, like 5G, and how people are already afraid of that. It's not even out yet. But what I'm saying is that these whole conspiracy theories where there's nothing to really back them up in reality, I want to approach them with a skeptical mind, and I want to come at them with a, just try to understand them, and then sit there and see if you can actually even debunk some of these, well-known conspiracy theories. And I think we can. Just you and I think we very well can. I think we can have a lot of fun doing it. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to go with this whole podcast, because it's also the whole community behind all these conspiracy theories, and we'll try to get better about this and try to do like screenshots and stuff like that, maybe try to show some people some stuff. But the whole community behind this, I think they're quite entertaining. Like, I have a lot of fun
definitely
just interacting with them.
Yeah, and it's just the sheer absurdity of some of the things they say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I try to look at it from their point of view, but it's still funny. It's still just some things that you would think are so apparent, and one thing leads to another. I mean, just follow the path, and you wonder how they end up way over here.
You do, and it's sometimes, and I think the good ones, I can pick up on it a little bit easier because I feel like they are educated, and I feel like they are lying, because they would do it in a way I would do it. Like, that's my biggest problem with like people like the Eric Dubé. I was like, man, that's how I would.
Oh, he's
that's
just
how I would
advantage of people.
Yeah, I feel that way. I really do. I mean, I can't prove it yet, but I do feel that way.
I can definitely see that as well.
Yeah. But even to other conspiracy theories, you start talking about 9/11. Remember how much schooling we went through and understanding how steel, just the forces interact on steel, and if you start to add any temperature to that, how that can just start to throw your strength right out the window.
Yeah, I mean, you lose all capacity, especially in the bolts, the joints.
Right.
People don't think of the joints. There's this thing called critical failure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because we were even taught, in school, it was like, well, at least for welding or a welded joint, you would be like, well, or you would be like, well, this weld, it's not going to break. You don't assume this to break compared to the rest of the stuff. It was kind of almost an assumption, not quite, but almost an assumption. And so a lot of people don't think about that. The connection points, they don't think about that. But anyways, the point is, there's a lot of things I think we can actually, and that was another thing I really enjoy about going through. They're all connected. Flat Earth starts to get connected with different religions and different conspiracy theories that come off of different religions.
Oh, yeah.
As well as inherent ideas in religion that people just can't let go of, even though it doesn't conform to reality. So, I mean, I can kind of group those with conspiracy theories as well.
I want to say that I honestly believe that they are very intertwined, and
I can show you.
I mean, throughout history, religion has halted some great scientific resolutions.
Oh yeah, that's a total fact. Yeah, but I can even show where some of these conspiracy theories are like either connected or born right out of religion.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think they're one and the same in a sense. Right. I think there's a difference between spirituality and being religious, and some people just don't have that mindedness about things and only see one way, but it happens.
Right. No, I mean, let's see here. No, and that's another thing. It kind of, okay, for instance, I was talking to it was actually my mother and one of my aunts, and the aunt was talking about how, that she had these I think it was her aunt and uncle actually, that had this, they had this radio they always loved to listen to, but they would never listen to television or own a television because that was considered demonic or evil. And the only thing that can come out of is from religion. And it did come out of religion. She told me straight up, it came from her, I forget which religion it is, the one where I don't know. But anyways, they were afraid of television. They thought television was demonic, and I think it just comes from a lack of understanding. it's weird to me how you can sit there and
exactly
have something travel across radio waves and understand that and be totally fine with that. But as soon as a picture comes across the waves, that it all of a sudden becomes evil. You know, and I don't know what makes sometimes those people make these jumps, but a lot of times I think it's just straight ignorance. They just don't understand what they're looking at. For instance, I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was talking about how, and you brought this up to me, but you were talking about how eventually gene therapy or gene splicing, something to do with genetics, you can eventually insert to like a newborn baby like a certain gene, and they can become cancer resistant, or they could see a new color or whatever. Yeah, you were talking about that. But people are already afraid of that. My mom was saying I would never want to do that because that's playing God.
Right.
But why?
But I don't know. I mean, those questions have, I mean, there's been instances of that throughout history as well, right? So, like, I mean, a lot of women use in vitro fertilization now, and it's so normal. But there was a time where implanting your own embryo in a woman's embryo back into herself after it being artificially inseminated.
Right.
There was a time where people thought that was playing God, but now it's
commonplace,
completely. And so I think it takes time for these things to become normalized, but there is still a lot of backlash. So, and especially now when the way the technology is moving, it's gonna,
I don't know. It blows my mind, you know, because this is people that are even close to me that are in a way afraid of technology. And I'm just, I want to think it comes out of just an ignorance. I don't mean that in a derogatory term, just you don't understand it. I don't understand it, but, you know, I might understand it a little bit better than some people. And that's because and it's not because of who I am. It's just because I took interest in it and I took time to actually study it. Anybody, I think, can do that. I really do think that. So, at least for the new technologies, that's me. Another big one we were talking about, we discussed upon a little bit, was 5G. I've already seen documentaries popping up on my threads and feeds, and I've already been in arguments with people about 5G on Twitter. That it's going to be the new, like, control us. It's going to be the new fluoride, basically. Yeah, apparently fluoride keeps us all in check to the elite. But
some of these, I just don't understand sometimes.
So, I mean, but briefly tell us what's going to be the good things about 5G, because I know you've been studying it a little bit.
Yeah, I have. So, I mean, basically 5G is a conglomerate of multiple advancements in communication technology and wireless technology as well. And so the whole of all these technologies put together is going to give us 5G.
Okay, so it's just a big mix of a bunch of different new innovative ideas.
Yeah. But if I had to sum it up in one or two sentences, we're basically opening up the spectrum. So we're using a larger wavelength along the microwave radio spectrum.
Right. And so that's what you were telling me, that allows us to have like more devices, basically, right?
A lot more devices, to be connected.
Right.
Because
so it's
we're having more devices. The Internet of Things is starting to blow up.
Okay. So here's some of the things I've heard across the little community that I like to listen in on. Apparently they're worried because these new radio signal waves can go through walls, which means they can go through us. Yes, but radio waves go through us already, so I don't know why that's a problem.
Right. That's actually
go on.
completely false.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Let's see. Let's see. Another one is like I said, they're going to use it to change your brain waves or something or whatever the hell they said, to all of a sudden make you control your mind. They think it's going to control your mind somehow. It's going to control your thoughts.
Oh Man.
I don't know how that's possible. Do you know if that's possible?
No way.
I don't understand it. It blows my mind. We have these. It's basically 5G, from what I understand it, is it's just 4G that has been like on steroids. So it's still 4G is already here. You know, you're already living within cellular waves.
Right.
You know,
right. That's the thing. You know, it's
right.
Radio waves are all around you everywhere. You're getting hit by them right now. And to backtrack a little bit, the higher wavelengths, they can't pass through solid material. Longer wave, that's why the lower wavelength area was used for what we have now. But higher wavelengths actually can't go through
that's right.
buildings.
Right.
So
it's like a tweeter versus a subwoofer. So,
yeah.
Right. So I don't understand where these. I personally haven't understood where these people are getting these theories from. I watched one of the videos though, and it didn't help that certain local news stations were reporting on these things, and we're not doing a very good job of showing how people got hurt versus why and where and for what reasons. They were talking about the people that actually climbed up on the cell towers, which I've actually done that for an internship before. And so I know a little bit about it, but they were talking about how people would climb up there and then they would get, radiation, high dosage of it. Well, yeah, you're standing right next to an online, antenna. Of course, you're going to get high powers of energy there, but that's, hundreds of feet in the air usually, and it's just they're supposed to be turned off, and I'm sure they've come up with new regulations to turn them off while people work on them, which I think they were supposed to in the first place. So yeah, I think that was just that it was just born out of a bad idea, or born out of a bad reporting. That it's just like, yeah, these things are dangerous if you're right on top of them, but I don't think they're dangerous if you're far away. I don't think there's any evidence for that.
No, and I mean, people are worried about 5G, but yeah, like you said, we have 4G right now. Like if you're comparing it to 5G, then anybody could be controlled right now then. Right. But it's not happening. There's no reports of it happening. And and if people are worried about it causing cancer, I mean, we already have 4G right now. There's no correlation with the rise of cancer. Yeah.
If anything, every day we're on this earth, we're getting more cases of people not getting cancer from this, and that's how I look at it. I mean, I don't know. Could I be wrong? Maybe, but I haven't seen any evidence to really persuade me the other way.
Yeah. It's No, go ahead.
No, you're fine. But anyways, I mean, that is something that I think we should definitely hit on more, and I think we will in the future. I think we need to hit on what 5G is, what actually it does, maybe even start trying to figure out what these different frequencies and stuff are, and what we need to figure also out, play devil's advocate and say, well, okay, we should do a video and say, what can this actually hurt us with? Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do some research and say, what can these antenna actually hurt you with? And I bet what we'll find is, if you stand right on top of one for a while, you'll probably start getting whatever radiation poisoning, and then plus maybe even some skin burns, some like sunburns. I'm sure you would, but I'm like I said, you're probably gonna be standing right on top of it. But I don't know. Maybe we should play devil's advocate and look that up. Maybe that'd be good for you.
We'll have to for sure.
But I don't think it's going to be as bad as people really think.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And then I also, of course, I really do want to eventually touch on young Earth creationism eventually, and maybe even a little bit of flat Earth, a couple of their best arguments. Because that's the thing about all of them. They're all so good at these ad hoc
Yeah.
Arguments, every one of them. They're so good at just coming up with these really quick answers that, for that instance, holds up. But if you test it to multiple different ideas or reality, then it's not going to hold up. For instance, one quick example is that water thing we were talking about. They argue that water is always level. At first glance, that might sound like a really nice idea, because water does seem to always find its level, and they have all these little diagrams of like,
yeah,
that
never makes
how
sense
water, but what actually sounds better? Water always finds its level, or water goes from a higher potential to a lower potential?
Right. I mean, the one that doesn't make you think.
Yeah, exactly. Or the one that actually holds up to more examples. And that's how science is supposed to work. You're supposed to,
Yeah. Science is investigative.
Right. So, but
I mean, it's basically.
Yeah.
So.
But one more thing I kind of wanted to talk about was there any other new technologies that because I always ask you this whenever we're,
Yeah.
What's the new technology coming up that you're most excited about?
Honestly, man, there's so much going on that I'm excited about a lot of them, but I'd have to say the one that I'm most excited about right now is what's going on in the virtual reality and augmented reality sector.
Yeah, last weekend you came up here and you showed me that Oculus Rift, and
yeah,
that was different. Yeah,
and that's why when I got it, I was like, man, I just have to show Elite,
Elite Dangerous. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen that yet. By the way, that's a video game for anyone that's asking. That's it's just like space simulator. It's pretty cool. You showed me that, but yeah.
For you to understand it, you have to try it, and a lot of people don't even know, about virtual reality and stuff like that. But like I can't really explain to you how it is to play it unless you try it. Like, it's just completely different.
And
it's just
I thought you were
type of thing.
I thought you were nuts until I tried it, and then I mean, it is. It does not feel like I thought it was going to feel like a video game with different graphics. It does not. It feels like the first time you played a new console, or maybe like one of the big consoles, like Atari, but I didn't play that. But like N64.
Some people are saying I've seen comparisons of it being made from the jump from Atari to how we have Xbox now or PlayStation now, right? So VR is sort of like its own thing. It's like an Atari for our time that is just so revolutionary. Right. And that's what people are comparing it to. There's people in their 40s, 30s, and 40s saying, wow, even 50s saying, wow, this brings back a lot of memories to when I first got an Atari when I was younger. Yeah, it's wild. It's a completely different thing.
The first gaming console that I had was actually the original Nintendo, but the first gaming console I really played was the Nintendo 64.
64, yeah.
Man, 007 GoldenEye, are you kidding me? With like split screen and like four of your friends would be, four people would be playing. Oh my gosh, that was so
been comparisons made to the jump to 3D as well.
Yeah, I could see that. But after I played it, man, like everyone needs to try it. that's to anyone listening. Go try VR. Like it's awe-inspiring. It really is. It's totally different. It makes you feel weird. Like I remember when I was he had me sitting in this game chair. I'll just have you guys picture this. ProSkeptiC here gets me set up in this game chair, so I'm like rocking back and forth. It's got a subwoofer in the chair. He puts this Oculus Rift on me, so now I can't see anything. I'm not touching the ground. Yeah, you do all that. You're completely immersed. Like it felt weird being in there, especially until he didn't give me the controllers because my guy didn't have hands. So like I just felt like I was just this head looking around. Yeah, it was weird, man. Kind of gets you a little bit scared. It got me a little scared until you gave me hands. Remember I told you I was like, I need hands. I was like, I need something.
Did you got to see the little home, right? The Oculus Home area?
Yeah, that's what was giving me a heart attack till you gave me hands.
Oh.
I was like, what is going on?
Okay.
Yeah, I was truly a little bit like, whoa, this is weird.
Oh yeah.
So,
but it is different, and but that's the thing. Like that Oculus Rift now, it's almost 2 years old, and the stuff that I've been researching and what the research that they've been doing.
Right.
Wow. I mean, it's gonna get to where it's gonna. I mean, it's eventually gonna be almost like you're in there with you're actually in the room with the person, and you'll be able to talk to them.
Wow. Yeah, see, I can't wait for that. I can't wait to sit there and just be able to, like, everyone's always dreamed about that, because let's think about this. I got a lot of family all the way in California. It would be really cool to, like, be able to, like, interact with them that quickly, that easily.
Yeah.
That immersively, is that a word? Yeah, immersively, or whatever, if that's even a word. But that, like that, I think that would be really cool to interact with people like that. But yeah. So, but anyways, like I said, I think it's we started a little bit late. It kind of sucks. I was hoping we would start right on time, because then I didn't think about this. It's kind of good we didn't. They would have heard those tornado sirens going off. Remember every Saturday?
Yeah.
Every Saturday, it just blared. I'm like, oh, that might have been a good thing.
Yeah, every Saturday.
Yeah, I might have to change that up. Those things are kind of loud. But anyways, if you guys made it through this far, thank you so much for hearing us rant. Like I said, I was just wanting to have everyone introduce us a little bit better. We're going to start this podcast. We're going to start getting in some other guests as well. Maybe some other skeptical engineers, like-minded. I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be really fun to actually have us meet some people like Godless Engineer. And actually, I'd really like you to meet Steve McRae. They're both engineers. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Hear how they interact with this community. That was another point I wanted to make. Even though I sit there and interact with all these like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, it forces me to, when I want to counteract with them, I actually meet some pretty educated people, so I can understand some of these arguments sometimes, and I've come across some really good personalities on Twitter, actually. But yeah, basically, if you've made it through this far, we're gonna get off here soon, because I think they got something else going on this channel. And thank you again, Steve, for letting us crash your channel. And also, if you can give us a follow right now at Twitter at EliteSkeptiC and ProSkeptic. I think his is GR Believer, actually. But anyways, yeah, I think we're gonna get out of here soon, and just give us a follow on that. We'll be making a new YouTube channel. It'll be EliteSkeptiC. Will be the YouTube channel as well. We'll be starting to try to get some videos up on there. Our idea is to kind of get this podcast going, and then if we ever have any arguments that we might have or discussions on the podcast that we think might need more diving into, what we'll do is we'll try to make some other YouTube material to try to back that up. At least that's kind of what our idea is going forward. Leave a comment in the section for any tips or advice, because, man, we'd love to hear it. We're just trying to get a little bit into the discussion. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us. But anyways, thanks a lot. Tell them off, bro. All right, I'll see you guys.